Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new series that I'm calling No BS Travel Guides. I am a huge fan of traveling, and I've been blessed to do a lot of it ever since I moved to Europe a couple of years ago. Now, one of my favorite places I've ever gone is Lisbon, Portugal, and if you're watching this video, chances are you're actually interested in going there, or you've heard about it and want to learn more. In any case, this is a video that will solve a lot of the grievances that I, and presumably others, have had with travel guides on YouTube that spend way too much time on random bullshit introducing the city or other stuff that you could find out on Wikipedia or Google. So in this video, and in the rest of this series, I'll be focusing merely on the things that you need to see. I'll start with all the stuff that I saw while I was there that I can actually recommend. Then I will discuss the things I saw that I do not recommend, and then I'll also give you guys a brief list and rundown of the other major attractions that I might not have had any experience with, so I can't recommend or say anything negative about them because I don't know, but they should be listed here because this is meant to be an ultimate travel guide and give you everything you need to know. And I will also be mentioning day trips, so let's get into all of that good stuff right away. One of the first things that I saw in Lisbon is the Sé, or cathedral. Now, this is a really cool old church with a lot of history behind it, and it might not be the most architecturally mind-blowing thing I've ever seen, but the history behind it, as well as the really cool treasury and the great views from the balcony, do make it definitely worth a quick stop, especially since it's in the middle of everything else, including this main square that you're probably going to go to no matter what. Another site that I saw early on in my trip was the National Pantheon. Now, I didn't even know about this place ahead of time. No one really told me to go here. I just checked it out because I saw it on the map and thought it looked interesting. And, well, it's kind of cool if you're a very active person and you really want to get a good view of the city. So if you're not exactly in shape to go up a bunch of stairs, and or it's not very nice weather on the day that you're visiting, then it's not worth it really at all. But if you are willing to go up all those stairs to get a nice view of the city, might as well check it out. But you can also get a great view of the city from the third thing, which is the Castle of St. George. Now, this is an iconic landmark at the top of the city. It's a pain in the ass to get to, but if you are living an active lifestyle and you don't have any problem going up some steep slopes, then you should get there fine. I'm not like an athlete or anything, far from it, and I was perfectly capable of getting there and back. So as long as you're in an okay shape, you should be fine. But maybe for older travelers or people with disabilities or something, this could be really tough to get to. So it's definitely not for everybody, but for everyone who can get to it, you should, because while the castle itself is not the most amazing thing you'll ever see, there are other castles I've been to that are cooler. It does give you amazing views of the city. It has a really cool feeling of history behind it because it's not about the castle, it's about the whole fortress complex. And they have all these peacocks and animals there, and it's just a really fun place to go. And the walk there is incredibly scenic as well. So I definitely recommend it. You could make the argument that it's a bit overrated because when I read the Castle of St. George, I was expecting this really cool castle that you could go inside of, but it's mainly just ruins. And it is really cool to climb around the ruins and get amazing pictures, but it's not like it's an especially interesting castle. It is a great tourist attraction for other reasons. Staying in the main area of Lisbon, but a bit further out from the rest of what I mentioned, is the Church of St. Roch. This is an absolute must-see. It may not look like much from the outside, but it is possibly one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen a lot. I've seen St. Peter's Basilica, St. Marco's Basilica in Venice. I've seen the Aachen Cathedral, the Trier Cathedral. I've seen a lot of very famous cathedrals and churches. But this one sticks out mainly because it has what I like to call a sleeper build, where on the outside, it actually doesn't look that cool at all. In fact, it kind of looks run down. But when you go inside, you're blown away. I like that because it's kind of the opposite of like the Cologne Cathedral, for example, which on the outside is absolutely incredible, and then on the inside is kind of just there, at least in my controversial opinion. But this church is absolutely worth going to if you have any interest in going to any sort of ornate churches at all. It is the ultimate stop for anyone who's interested in that. I would highly recommend it. It is a bit further out, like I said, but it's worth the trip. There's also the Carmo Convent, which I only saw because I had extra time on my hands, but man, am I glad that I did. Not only is it really cool that the roof was destroyed in the earthquake, so it's got a really unique look to it where you can only see sort of the base or the frame of what would be the ceiling. But there's also an archaeological museum inside. It's not that big, it's manageable, with some really, really cool stuff, including these children's skeletons. It's really messed up, but it's incredibly cool, incredibly unique. And the museum shop also has a cute little cat who will run around, see if you can spot him. So check that out, I guess. If you're interested and you're in the area and you've got time, why not? But I wouldn't exactly say you have to go out of your way for it. I almost forgot, right around the Carmo Convent is also, if I'm not mistaken, the elevator of Santa Justa. I can't speak Portuguese. It's a giant elevator. Personally, I don't see much of the appeal. I took a photo of it from the outside. I walked up to it. I was like, this is an elevator, and I did not feel the need to get on it or ride it. If you really have a thing about it, go ahead. It can help you get to certain parts of the city quicker on foot, so that's something. But I don't know why this is always listed as necessarily a tourist attraction. It's certainly a landmark, but it's really not that attractive, at least in my opinion. We also have the art museum that I cannot pronounce the name of to save my life. This is a private collection by a guy, I think, from Armenia. And normally I would not go to art museums. I'm not a big fan of them. But this one is kind of cool. The over-reliance on pottery and ancient rugs and stuff really annoyed me at certain points, and I was bored occasionally. But there is some really cool stuff in here too, I gotta admit. As much as this kind of thing is not for me, if it is for you, you will adore it. So if that sounds like something you want to see, an art museum with some really cool ancient stuff and some more modern paintings, then this will be absolute heaven on earth for you. If you're like me and you're not a big fan of art museums, unless you have a ton of time to kill like I did, then you can stay the hell away, especially because it's out and it takes a while to get there. And lastly, in the main part of Lisbon, we have the museum about the Revolution of 1974, the Carnation Revolution, as it's often known. Now, this, I did not even know about the revolution, full disclosure, before I came to Portugal, but I was seeing graffiti of 25th of April forever all over the place, and I was like, what does that mean? So I looked it up, and I discovered the story of the revolution, and I found it really interesting. And there's also the Lisbon Story Center in the main square, which I would probably say is one of the few things I did that I would not really recommend going to. For kids, and if you really want to learn about the history in a somewhat entertaining way, sure, you could do worse. You could go to the stupid Quake Museum, which I walked in, saw the prices, and immediately went, this is a goddamn scam. But if you really care about the history of Lisbon and you don't want to learn it in a super serious way, you could do worse. And like I said, it's in the main square, so it's really fine if you just want a easy, relaxing activity. That's the reason I went. It's not that bad, but it is kind of tacky. It's kind of tourist trappy, in my opinion. But if you want a more serious look into the Carnation Revolution, go to the dedicated museum about that. This is a kind of place that's only really for history nerds like me who really care about that kind of stuff. If you don't care that much, then you don't need to go at all. Like I said, I didn't even know this existed before I specifically looked for it. So it's really up to you. I personally enjoyed it, so if you want my view, it's 2 thumbs up. But again, very niche and specific audience. And moving on from the main part of Lisbon, we're going to go over to Belém, which I would definitely recommend spending a day in. First off, you want to check out the National Coach Museum. This is a great museum, not necessarily because of the way that it's organized, but because the coaches themselves are works of art. And like I said, I'm not an art guy, so I'm not trying to come up here and be like, oh, yes, these coaches are truly something spectacular, Reginald, or something like that. No. I'm just saying they're incredibly ornate, incredibly creative, and there's so many of them that have just wild designs. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the type of person who really thinks about the intricate art of coach making on a daily basis. So when I see a museum dedicated to these things that houses so many of them that look so crazy, it is kind of cool. The museum itself is kind of boring. It's kind of just a giant-ass warehouse. And I did actually find out that there's a second coach museum, which is a much, much cooler building, but it has a much smaller collection of coaches. So I guess pick your poison. Do you really just care about the coaches, but not about the museum part? Or do you want a more overall well-rounded experience? Up to you. Or you don't have to go to either because you think coaches sound boring as hell. Fair enough, but I was pleasantly surprised and thought it wasn't going to be that cool, and I actually did find it pretty cool. So if you're in Belém and you got time, take a look. Why not? Then we have one of the biggest must-see attractions in Lisbon, the Mosteiro dos Jerónimos, or however you pronounce it. Is it really a must-see, though? Yeah, I would say so. It's a very well-organized tourist attraction. You see the guys there counting how many people go in and out so it does not get too overcrowded, which is a godsend that should be done fucking everywhere, if you ask me. Any place that doesn't do that, big red flag, especially big touristy places. But in general, this is an incredibly worthwhile tourist attraction. Amazing history, beautiful architecture, incredibly recognizable and iconic in the city of Lisbon. If you don't go here, you're kind of wasting your time in Lisbon. I would probably say that the church, maybe the cathedral church, the castle of St. George, I'd probably say that those are like the big must-see attractions that everyone should probably go to. And yeah, this absolutely deserves its spot at the top of many people's lists and makes going to Belém worth it for this alone, really. In Belém, there's also the Tower of Belém, which I did not go inside because from what I've heard, the inside isn't that cool, but I did see it from the outside, and it's an absolutely gorgeous building. The waves from the ocean hitting it, it's unforgettable, and if you just want to walk by to get some photos, it is 100% worth it. This is going to give you probably your best photo while you're in Lisbon. So don't miss out on that opportunity to capture some of that beauty. And while you're at it, they also have the massive monument to the discoverers of the New World right by there. I didn't plan on seeing it originally because it's just a statue, but I thought, what the hell, I'm right in the area. I checked it out, and it is kind of cool, I must admit. I wouldn't say go out of your way for it at all, but if you're in the area, which you probably should be because you should probably go to the Tower of Belém anyway, then yeah, you'd kind of be missing out not to just take a peek and take a photo. So I would definitely recommend spending a day in Belém, and I'm going to do something that I normally don't do, which is give a food recommendation. Listen, these are no BS travel guides, and a lot of the BS that I'm referring to are people who film themselves drinking coffee and eating food for fucking 3/4 of the video, and then only 1/4 is them actually doing the attractions, and that pisses me off to no end. So I don't want to do that, but I will mention 2 places that are so goddamn deliciously good that I just gotta let you guys know. First is Augusto. They have 2 locations, one in the regular area of Lisbon that I went to on my way to Castle of St. George, and the other one is in Belém. Both are incredible. I went to both, and they have like the best pancakes, the best scrambled eggs, the best goddamn orange juice ever. So if you like brunch, or if you like any of those, you'd be a fool not to go here. I'm just saying. And if I remember correctly, I think the pancakes are only available in the Belém location. So another reason you should go to Belém, eat there. There's also Gelato Therapy, I believe it's called, who have really unconventional flavors. The one I had every night was vanilla and basil. And let me just tell you, the guy who runs this shop, if you go to Lisbon, you go to this shop, say hello to him for me. He's awesome. His store is awesome. And again, like I said, I normally don't talk about food, but these are 2 special occasions. So you can trust me, these 2 places are da bomb. So to sum up Lisbon once and for all, these are all of the places that you should go, in my opinion, based on my experiences with group titles, just so you know that you should only probably go there if you're part of a certain group. So, for example, art museum lover. Okay? Did you note it down? Did you get everything? Great. Here are all of the other things that I've seen online on major websites that I can't really speak to from my own personal experiences. But if you want to take a look at them and research for your own travel planning, I summed them all up here for you. You're welcome. I did tell you it was going to be an ultimate travel guide, and I am a man of my word. Let's talk day trips. I'm going to talk about 4. 2, I got to tell you right off the bat, I unfortunately did not get to go on, even though I originally planned to. They are Tomar and Évora. So you're going to have to look into those for yourself. I know Évora has a bone chapel. That's the main thing I wanted to see there. And I believe it has a Roman temple. And Tomar has the Convent of Christ, which is supposed to be an amazing thing. But because of the long train rides between Lisbon and these 2 places, I did not manage to go there. I really regret that, but one day I promise I will, and I'll tell you all about it. But the 2-day trips I did go on that I can tell you about are Sintra and Queluz. I'm going to start with Sintra. Sintra I actually went to on my birthday last year, and what a great birthday it was. I went to the Palace Pena, and I will say right off the bat, it's a little overrated. Here's why. The outside is pretty iconic, pretty spectacular, stunning. It is, however, very dirty. Like noticeably dirty, in an off-putting way. And the interior has some really cool details, but, and I went there on a weekday, I believe, on a weekday in late February with terrible weather. So you would not expect it to be that crowded. It was crowded as shit. And most of the stuff that I went to in Lisbon was manageable with the crowds. This was the one time it was not. We were herded through like cattle, and I did not enjoy it. I overall do still recommend going here, but maybe if you're going during high tourist season in the summer, maybe it would be so much even worse than what I experienced that you should just not go. Because in reality, like the truth of the matter is, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. I don't regret going there, but I will say it could have been a lot cooler. I'm not trying to trash talk Sintra, because overall I really loved going there and I enjoyed the day, but Pena Palace is not exactly the be-all, end-all. And in fact, there's a different attraction I went to right after that is much, much cooler. The Quinta de Regalera. It is an absolutely incredible tourist attraction. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. It's all these old fortifications, guard towers, everything you could just climb up in and explore at your own pace. And when I was there, it was wet and misty and foggy, so it was really mysterious and cool. And then you go down in what's called the Initiation Well, which fucking badass name. And then you go through these caves, and it's just awesome. It's awesome. And then you go to the actual little palace thing, which looks amazing from the outside. On the inside, it could be cooler, but it's still really cool. Overall, 5 stars. Like, there's nothing that could have been, you know, there's nothing that was disappointing about the Quinta de Regalera, unlike the Pena Palace. So, if you want my advice on Sintra, if you want to just see the absolute musts, you might just want to stick to the Quinta de Regalera, or however you say it. Yeah, I also saw the News Museum, which, because I'm somewhat interested in journalism, thought would be interesting. It was tacky tourist trap crap, if I'm being honest. They did at least have a VR headset, so I could make a hilarious community reference. Jesus wept! But other than that, I got almost nothing out of going here, so I say skip it, even if you think it looks interesting. So overall, I would definitely recommend going to Sintra, but maybe steer clear of Pena Palace unless you're absolutely certain you want to go there and you're willing to deal with the crowds, because man, I didn't expect it to get as crowded as it did, and I'm almost always very cautious about that kind of stuff. And finally, the grand finale of this video, and the finale of my trip, because it's where I went on my last day there, Queluz. Queluz is the site of a pretty cool looking palace, so I thought it would be amazing to go see. Let me tell you, has beautiful gardens, it's kind of cool, and it was totally empty when I went there. I was literally the only person there. So, if you want a Versailles-esque experience all to yourself, you could do worse. I mean, that's all I'm saying. But Queluz Palace, if we're being real, stinks. I mean, literally, it smells weird. And the portraits of the family members are fucking nightmare fuel. I mean, look at this shit. I have a collection of these photos now. It is disturbing to look at. And there's actually a place I went in Denmark that's very similar, but that's a story for another time. The palace in Queluz is hilariously weird, and if you're willing to walk through one of the most scary places I've ever been in my life to get to it, because yes, I felt incredibly unsafe walking around in broad daylight in Queluz, I gotta be fully honest, whereas I've been to, for example, Frankfurter Hauptbahnhof, which has a terrible reputation, and I've been all over Berlin. I didn't feel unsafe in either of those places, didn't feel unsafe in Rotterdam or Amsterdam, not at all, but Queluz, holy shit, I was scared. And I will say, if you think it's worth it walking through that dangerous, sketchy-looking town to get to a palace that is a laughingstock, good on you, because you understand comedy. But yeah, so those are the day trips from Lisbon that you can take. I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan to do more of them in the future about all kinds of cities, a lot of them in the Netherlands, because as you might know, I live here and I've been all over the country to nearly every province. So a lot more travel videos are coming up. Hope you enjoyed this first one, and let's get back to no-nonsense travel YouTube content. That's what I'm pushing for, and I hope you'll stay with me on this journey. Thank you for watching, everyone. Be safe, and goodbye.